Hi, I'm Annien Shaw and I'm a violinist based in Cape Town. I move around in circles of ensemble playing, orchestral playing and research, but today I would like to wear my teacher's hat. I've had the privilege to substitute and part-time lecture at various tertiary institutions in South Africa. This, as well as my experience teaching students at school level, has made me aware of a gap in coping abilities jumping from school to first year. Especially when it comes to the repertoire output. Now, the reasons for this could be that the school system and graded music examination requires the minimum repertoire output per year for a successful pass rate. The result of this is when the students reach tertiary level, and I find this especially in the first years and bridging course students, that they're not completely equipped to cope with the amount of repertoire that they're required to prepare for that year. That, added to their academic work, their ensemble repertoire, orchestral repertoire, and new technique that a possible new teacher would be adding onto them, they just do not know how to manage. The solutions to this could be that the teachers at school level should be introducing more repertoire to the students to help them cope by the time they reach tertiary level, or alternatively, teach students how to practice effectively and independently. Now, a lot of what I like to say today might sound like plain common sense, but sometimes it helps to hear something again or just put in a different way to remind us of how it works. Two coping mechanisms that I try to instill with my students at a young age is time management and problem solving as a practice method. Time management is key as it is personal. Every person must decide for himself how much time he needs to practice or can allocate to practice per day and what you're going to do with that time. If you know that you have only 3 hours to practice a day, how much repertoire are you going to be putting into those 3 hours? And how much can you cope with under that amount of pressure? That is a discussion for a different day. What I would like to talk about today is applying the steps of problem solving to practicing. These are identifying the problem, exploring strategies, exploring solutions, and evaluate and learn from your solutions. Now, identifying the problem might sound like a straightforward idea, but identifying the problem does not mean pointing out what was wrong. It refers to finding the cause of the problem and not the symptom. For example, if you keep playing the wrong note in a passage, the wrong note is not the problem. It is the result of the problem. The problem is that you have programmed the sequence of notes wrongly within your muscle memory. A solution to this will be discussed later. So, how do we teach our students to identify the problem? Tertiary students need to apply critical listening. By recording themselves and listening back to what was not executed to their liking, they have to retrace their steps and analyze what might have caused this to happen. A simple step that I teach my younger students, which can also be applied here, is to give yourself a mark out of 5. For the young ones, this could be for a song. For music students, it could be a section of a piece that they're working on. 9 out of 10 times, the students will give themselves a mark of 2 or 3 out of 5. Then ask them, what did you like about your playing? They always start listing the negatives first. Repeat the question by emphasizing liking, because surely if you've given yourself 2 or 3 out of 5, you must have liked something about it. And now they start to think. They think back on what they played and how it sounded. Identifying mistakes are easier than pointing out what went well, because it involves your own musical voice and likes. This is an important part in teaching students to develop independent practicing, because how can you rely on yourself if you don't even know what you want the music to sound like? Now, after the positives have been identified, ask, what did not sound like you wanted it to? Not what was wrong. Again, they start thinking instead of listing that wrong note, that bump in my sound. For young students, I usually guide the answers. What about that cadence? What about your phrasing? What about your sound there? The next question to ask is why? Why did you not like it, and why do you think it sounded that way? The answers here will help identify the possible problems. For example, If your sound in a phrase sounded forced, it might be because of bow pressure or distribution. Messy playing could be caused by coordination, shifting problems, tension in the left hand. Sometimes it is easy to pinpoint the problem once you have analytically thought about it. Sometimes, if there's more than one possibility, we have to use strategies to solve the problem. And this leads us to step 2. There are 2 main strategies to problem solving: trial and error and the heuristic approach. Trial and error is the equivalent of playing through your piece 10 times and hoping for a better result each time. Although this is useful for building stamina in preparation for recitals and to practice run-throughs, it is not conducive for effective time-managed practicing. It is much more effective to identify the cause of the problem from your list of possibilities. Narrow down from the list of possibilities what was most likely the cause of the problem by thinking back and retrying the passage, playing with awareness. Do you feel tension in your left hand? Did you lose control of your bow at some point during a string crossing? Were you unsure of the distance of a shift? By narrowing down the list of possible problems, we can now start applying possible solutions, taking us to step 3, exploring solutions. Here is where practice techniques come in. Your teacher or literature on violin methods are full of possible answers to specific problems. Today, even following a simple Instagram account could provide you with some ideas. I've made it a habit to keep a little book of practice techniques. Sometimes it's helpful just to read through them again to remind yourself. These are a few of my favorites that I've picked up from my teachers through masterclasses and lectures. Now, let us see how we can apply this problem-solving method to some practice routines. I will start by playing a passage that I'm meant to prepare. Alright, now first question, what did I like about it? Maybe the fact that I played from beginning to end without stopping, that could be one. I liked my dynamic about it, and I liked my choice of fingering. Those are 3 things that I liked about it. Now, what did not sound like I wanted it to sound? Firstly, in the second bar, the bow stroke was too fast in comparison to the rest, and therefore it made a bump in my sound, or didn't sound unanimous with the phrase. So that I would like to change. Also, I would like to maybe incorporate some more vibrato on the accents. And secondly, I didn't like my intonation towards the end of it. It was also slightly uncoordinated. So let's see how we can fix this. First, let's fix the bump in the sound. So for that, I would need to do bow distribution exercises. And for this, I would use the stopped bow stroke as it is applied in the method. Alright, so if you can see that I think by stopping the bow, it pointed out that I might be using too much bow on the first up bow stroke. That leaves me with very little opportunity to use the same bow speed for the down bow, because at the end of the day I'm not going to have enough bow space left for the second up bow. So the end goal is to be at the nut for the accent on the B. So therefore I need to be about maybe 3/4 up in the bow for the preceding up bow. That's too far away. So maybe more to the middle. So that means the down bow preceding needs to be about 1/4 away from the nut. So I have 3/4 of a bow for the first up bow. And there the problem is now solved. The bow stroke problem is solved. Let's try that in tempo. Okay, still it sounds a little bit uncoordinated. So now for my left hand to become more coordinated, I will do the slurred passage with separate bow strokes. Right, clearly I felt uncomfortable on the part, so that's where my problem lies. Now I can apply rhythms to that. Okay. The separate bows has made it obvious that I'm unsure of which string I'm supposed to be playing on in that section. So here we go, let's solve that problem. Okay, right. That's already better, but not 100% yet. Let's add another rhythm. Second semi-quaver rhythm. Again. Third semi-quaver rhythm. Oh. So here the second semi-quaver rhythm has pointed out that my finger is sluggish when I pick it up, when I have to let go of the D to form an open A string. So that is the problem there. Oops, sorry. Okay, that's a better lift. Let's try that again. Right, now let's try the third semi-quaver rhythm. I think that was the fourth. Let's try the third. Okay, so I think it's safe to say that we've uncovered the problem of coordination in that part of the phrase. Now let's see the following bit. So I said I wanted more vibrato on those accented notes. So that one's out of tune. Forwards and backwards with the shifts. That's a string crossing that's uncomfortable, so open strings. Because it's a B in third position, my brain wants to go to the A string to take the B with the first finger, but it's not actually, it's only supposed to go to the D string. So what I've uncovered now is that my natural instinct is to make the string crossing too big. So I need to bring it closer. Let's try that again. Okay, that's better, but now it's uncoordinated. So, separate bows. That's better. Alright, now let's do it with slurred, but in rhythms. Okay, I use the wrong fingering, so again. Right, second rhythm. Third rhythm. Fourth rhythm. Oopsie, wrong finger. Alright, Now let's try and see if we can do the whole passage. Now already that feels better, but I mean there is still some improvement to be done. So I will repeat the process and see if there are any other things that come up. Let us look at an example for double stops. There's quite a tricky passage here in the second movement. Okay, so what I liked about it was very little, must honestly say. But what didn't sound like I wanted to is firstly the intonation. Secondly, I felt a lot of tension in my left hand. It's probably because of fear of intonation. So let's see if we can split up the notes and relax the left hand. So that was an example of using ghost notes. So I pressed or placed both the double stops with my left hand, but I only focused the right hand on the lower string. Now let's reverse this and do the top line. Alright, so my biggest issue is between the G B flat and the F A flat. So now let's go and work on that a little bit. Okay, by moving forwards and backwards, I've seen now that the frame of my double stop changes slightly when I move down a tone, even though the interval should not change. So, in other words, my fingers are a little bit too, I think, pressed on the string. It seems like the finger stays behind when the hand moves. So, lighter, sharper fingers, more from the top, less pressure. Good, okay. Let's see if we can use a faster bow stroke to bring more air into the double stop. Now for the mood of this section, I prefer that sound, and it's also a lighter right hand is helping me relax the left hand, so that is something definitely I'm going to be applying to this now. So now let's do it in a broken chord to see if all of the double stops are in tune going down. There was one. That already feels better. Let's see if we can do the phrase backwards. No, we can't. Okay, let's try that again. Now let's try it one last time forwards. I think the last three notes I didn't like so much. I'd like my D to be slightly higher. And to phrase it off, I'm going to use a slower and lighter bow stroke to help with the dynamic. Okay, that sounds better to me. Now we come to the last step. Learn and evaluate from your solutions. Did your solution manage to solve the problem? If yes, did it possibly cause another problem elsewhere? For example, if you choose a fingering for the sake of tone color in one passage, did it possibly create an awkward string crossing or large shift later? Also, if you find certain solutions more effective than others, make those your go-to ones for future similar problems, and keep a list to refer back to it. These thoughts are by no means revolutionary, and it is but one way to apply practicing techniques to repertoire, but hopefully it creates an opportunity for an open dialogue on how to better prepare students for tertiary education. I thank both my students and teachers for inspiring these thoughts, and I hope that it might be useful to somebody who needs to hear about a different approach of effective practicing. Thank you for listening.